talking about today. I saw this clip and guys, I'm using natural light, like I'm facing my window. Therefore, the sun will go in and out of clouds, so that's what you're gonna be seeing throughout the video if it does happen at all. Please excuse that. But I saw a clip today and I was like, oof. And I remember I've always wanted children, guys. Like, I've always wanted children. And I remember in high school, I would be so stressed. Like, I had friends who were virgins and friends who weren't virgins. And those who were virgins, I remember us having a conversation. I remember having a conversation with Lebogang, and we were talking about how, oh my God, if I could just have twins and be done, I'd be so happy, And then we like looking at each other like, but you gotta perform the deed first. So like as a virgin, no, like, does everyone talk about how, or is it just like I think maybe the later you lose it, the more fearful you are. Like we were so scared. I was like, I want children, but then birth, like, how do you give birth without, how do you have children without ever sleeping with a man? How do I, like, how can I fear a human being? How can I fear the deed, but I don't fear a human being coming out of my body? That time I have to go through one in order to go through another. Like, it was a proper stress. I honestly knew that I would have a lot of children, but like, I knew, like, there was no doubt in my mind. And like, God will show you where you're going, but obviously he'll never show you how you're gonna get there. You know what I mean? So I remember I could see it. Like, guys, if you sit in silence and you ask yourself the question genuinely and like for real, you can see it. And I feel like you have to see it first. And sometimes you won't see it because you don't think about it, fine, but if you think about it, you will see it. If it's in your heart, it's because it already exists. You know what I mean? So I could see it, so I knew it for sure. And then I remember praying to God, like, but how am I gonna get there? Like, how am I gonna get to a place where I have all these children? I'm not trying to, like, and I remember I had a boyfriend at the time. I'm like, I am not doing that with this person. I don't want to marry him. I don't want to marry nobody. I don't want to, like, how, and obviously, things play out and you're like, oh, okay, fine. But I've always wanted children, right? And I used to think it was, and then after I had the children, and then because society questions you so much when you want children, but you don't really prioritize marriage, I used to think it was a trauma response, like, because I lost my father at a young age. I think I lost my father at like 7, 8, I think. And my mom was like a working mom, like, studying, side hustles, job. Like, my mom was a busy mom. Like, she wasn't like, she's the opposite of me right now. So I thought that was my trauma response of, like, I remember in grade 7 or 8, right? And I was in this transport, and I was living in Rwanda Park at the time. So I've changed school so many times. I don't even remember which school. I can't even mention one school, but like, yeah, I was in one of the schools in the area. So, I remember transport going. Guys, if you know Mandasege, you know Brett Road, like, Ofita Bushanthele, Ofita Malansians. I think we would drive past Malansians, and I remember thinking, oh my God, I didn't know people lived here. And I was this vendor girl. She was way younger than us. And we would drop her off. We had to drive into like this plot. You know, driving into a plot, you first drive into this like narrow road, it's gravel, and then you get to the gate and then intercom, and then you get into the yard, and even in the yard the driveway is like trees, and it's nothing fancy. It's just that it's a plot. So there's trees, there's all of this, and we get to, not the door of the house, but like closer to the house, and it's her mother, it's her grandmother, and I think a helper also, and the mother has a baby, and the grandmother will get her into the car. And I remember seeing that. I don't know if I'm the only person who saw that, but your trauma will make you notice certain things, or like your wounds in general, right? So I remember seeing that, and I was like, that's what I want. Like, that's the life I want for my children. This is in grade 7, 8, guys. I'm like, that is what I want for my children. Like, I want my children, because Rena at the time, Kia. And since Kia, I mean, you know what I mean? When I was going to Kia, what was going to like, what was going to, there's no body. Basically, you have to wash dishes, you have to do all these things, you have to add a sibling. So like, you just have to take care of him. You just be like, eat before you go. Like, you have to make sure you know his whereabouts. Like, you're just responsibilities, right? So I remember thinking, I don't want my child to carry a key to school, guys. I want my child to come back home to me, to, like, grandmother if possible, and a helper. And obviously, because I wanted a lot of children, that and the siblings, the younger siblings, I just wanted my child to come home to being a child, like to come home to. And I remember experiencing it when I was at home after having the twins. I Obviously it's twins, I need help, so I'm at home, and when I'm at home, I don't cook, I don't clean. Like, yes, I'll clean, but like, but I don't do a lot. I don't do laundry. My grandmother does the laundry. And I remember, like, as I had to go to school, okay, we know her as Bimbi on the channel. Bimbi had to go to school, to creche, right? And I remember transport there, dropping her off. And she had this kid in the transport who would eat her afternoon snacks, because they would give her snacks at school. And she doesn't eat a lot of things. She's very picky, and she wants to show, like, mommy, this is what they gave me at school. So she wouldn't eat the things in the transport, right? So she would have them, and this kid would scam her and be like, and eat something, maybe eat December high or something. So she would come back sad, and I'm like, what's wrong, Bimbi? She's like, listen, stole whatever snack it is, right? But that kid was slick. She would steal one thing. Maybe she'll steal December, and there's December and yogurt, or she steals, she would steal one thing. So I remember, I'm not a confrontational person, guys. I remember being in the house with the twins, and my grandmother was working. Like, there's a mini garden, like there's like flowers, mopela, the house by the gate. So my grandma is always outside, watering the flower, like the roses and stuff. So when it's time for Bimbo to come back, someone is always outside and basically like waiting for her. So my grandma was like, you know what, I'm born on Lesidi, I'm gonna talk to Lesidi after school. Something that I wouldn't have done. Okay. So my grandmother literally goes to the transport, and I can't hear anything. I'm in the house, but I can see all of the scalafistere, and she's talking to this AD, whatever, fine. And my child was so happy, guys. My child was so happy. Like, she was so happy. And I remember, I'm like, this is the picture. Like, my child would come back to me and the younger siblings, and her grandmother, which is my mother, her great grandmother, which is my like, guys, things money can't buy. And yeah, but anyway, I used to think that like me wanting those things and like noticing them was like inner child wounded, wanting to have a family because my father passed on, and then my mother was married to my stepdad, but like they divorced. Like I didn't live with my mom for long. Like it was very little stability. Like I've been moving around. I've been to 8 schools in 12 years. The longest I've been to a school is 3 years. Like, guys, every year I was changing a school almost, so the instability, I thought my wanting of a family and my prioritizing family was like just a wounded child wanting that family unit. And then I saw this clip. If I can share it, I'll share it. If I can download it from YouTube, I'll share it. But I watch a lot of her title on YouTube is Teal Swan Official. I watch a lot of her content, but this one, I was like, you know what I mean? Like, epiphany. Like, she said, and I'll share the video so that you guys can listen to what she said.
Can I make this make more sense to you?
Yes.
And everyone? Healing is actually quite simple. It is nothing more than to experience the opposite. And like sometimes we'll come to these seminars, for example, and it's like there's a lot of confusion around how do we get to a space of healing about a specific subject. It's a lot easier when you understand what healing is. So you say, okay, abuse, being treated in a poor way. What is healing? Being treated in the opposite way, right? You break a bone. Bone is broken. What is healing? Put the bone back together. It's literally just nothing but the opposite. So if you make it that simple, you have your recipe for what it is you need. Then it's about what thoughts, words, and actions do I take to get in that direction.
I was like, I feel like exploding right now. I feel like exploding. If someone could explain your life in one sentence, that was literally the sentence. Healing is experiencing the opposite. So me not having that family unit, although I did experience it in bits and pieces, like living with my aunt, you almost experience it from the outside because they are their own family unit and they try to bring you in. But I mean, like, guys, if it's not your family, it's not your family. You know what I mean? So as much as she tried, what that experience was showing me, because honestly, you cannot I feel like a lot of people run away because they don't know what to do with it. Like, let's say you never had a family and then you have one. I feel like a lot of people destroy their blessings because they don't know what to do with it, because you've never lived with a man. Like, your father wasn't there, you didn't have a male figure, it was just women, your mother, your mamang, your mamang, and now you have to live with a partner and your children, and you can't, like, you don't know how to coexist with a man in a house. You know what I mean? Like, small things like that. And so like everything in life, guys, it's just a puzzle. You know what I mean? But anyway, when she said that, guys, and I'm like, I had to, like, because I did not have a family unit, the healing for that is for me to experience a family unit. Like, I was like, no one will understand it, but the peace, see how I'm like, the small things matter to me. Like, when guys, like, caring about how my child feels. And obviously, like, I'm not a perfect mother, I'm not a perfect human being, I'm still a person, I'm still Bipelo, I've been through my own things. So some of the things you learn about yourself in motherhood. it's more than just learning about your wounds, it's also learning about myself. In that, like, a lot of us are like our mothers because that's the only mothering you know. Like, my mother was a yella, was a what, and now I'm a yella, and I'm trying not to be a yella, but obviously I will yell. I will yell. So, like, I will yell at my children, but um, I have to, obviously, it's not going to stop abruptly, but I have to be intentional about it in that I catch myself yelling. And then I'm like, okay, what's wrong with you? Like, what's frustrating you? Because it's definitely not these kids, you know what I mean? And then, I want my mother also. I feel like the women in my family are emotionally unavailable. Honestly speaking, my mother was emotionally unavailable. Like, she was not a, you can cry on me. No, she's, even to this day, she will tell you, as a person, you counsel yourself and you keep it moving. Like, and after having children, you learn a lot about the family history. They start opening up, these women. Like, they start, when I had Azania, and like, I don't believe in coincidences, so I will always say it's all puzzles. I had Azania where my grandmother was born, ne? And when I told her that, like, she obviously now, like, she started sharing, fam. Like, she was like, this is where I was born. She started telling me about a girl who drowned, where they were. Guys, she told me about her mother, like, not being raised by her mother. My grandmother was abandoned by her mother. Do you see, like, that wound even goes beyond me? Like, I learned so many things, and I'm like, I'm not just healing me, fam. Like, I'm not just healing me. Like, life and my outlook on life. And where's going on? I'm coming, then you go watch TV. Okay. I'm coming. Give me a big hug. Where's Tracy? Where's Tracy? Did you close the door? Close the door. The boss need to heal. Anyway, I don't even know what I was saying. But I had children, and literally I found out about all the traumas in my, not all, but like as far back as like my grandmother's mother, you know. Obviously we don't know the story because she didn't raise my grandmother, and my grandmother doesn't know that side of the family. But you start seeing that the wound is like, it's deep, you know. And a lot of people don't know why they want the things they want, why they think the way they do. And I was one of those people until I had the children, and my grandmother was able to open up, and my mother was able to open up, and I realized that, like, I am healing them. Oh, guys, like, I am healing like, guys, life is deep. When I tell you life is deep, life is deep. So yeah, so that video, like, it literally was like, healing is experiencing the opposite, you know. And I was like, that is my life. And I had to look at all the women in my family. Like, my mom is emotionally available. My grandmother, to an extent, was also like, girl pushing, making money. Guys, my grandmother always provided, like, for her kids, for us, the grandkids. I lived with my grandmother, you know, for most of my young life, like schooling life. My grandmother made things happen, guys. Okay, like, I started seeing that, oh my god, like, my mom wouldn't be emotionally like, my mom is emotionally available because, like, her mother was too busy working, and her mother was to an extent emotionally unavailable because she did not have a mother. Like, and I don't like telling these stories because it's not my story, it's my grandmother's story, guys. But my grandmother's mother would, like, my grandmother would be like, would spot her at a taxi rank. She told me the story one time. She was like, I spotted my own mother at a taxi rank. This woman, I went up to her and I was like, hi. This woman did not know who I was, and she had met her before. So, like, it's like, the mother left my grandmother with the dad, the dad side of the family. So my grandmother was raised by her paternal grandmother, and then they were not living too far from each other, right? Because my grandmother's from, she calls it Arusuk. So Artevius Wuku. But yeah, guys, I literally had to share that clip because a lot of people look to social media to define where they're supposed to be in life. A lot of people look to the outside to find their purpose, or like whatever it is. And I remember talking about marriage, and I was like, guys, when, like, we can be a social media and have influencers, but you can only influence people, like, we can only influence each other to a certain extent, right? We cannot live identical lives. We cannot. Like, um looking at my story, for example, and knowing that there's a mother wound in my family, right? And sometimes you question yourself. It's like, do I really not want marriage? Like, when people ask you, like, you don't want marriage, you just want to have children, whatever, all of that nonsense, you are questioning yourself, like, your own desires. Like, why don't I want marriage? Like, am I not normal? Like, you know what I mean? And then I found out the history of there's so many things I found out with my pregnancies. Like, the first one of my pregnancies, I found out that my grandmother was abandoned by her mother. Fine, I didn't take it seriously. I was like, wow, I didn't know that by my grandmother. That's interesting to know. Okay, it makes sense why this and this is happening, we only have one side from, all of that. Fine. And she was, because I think I was saying that she was raised by her paternal grandmother. And at some point, the mother, when she was a teenager, went to go, I guess, like, meet her or ask for her or something like that. And then it didn't go well, right? Fine, but you met, like, she saw that, okay, this is what my child looks like. And when my grandmother was like, late teens, early 20s, she's like, I would run into her. I ran into her at a She's like, I would run into her multiple times, and every time I had to tell her, like, it's me, your daughter. Hello. Like, imagine. Yeah? So she would run into her mother, and her own mother would not remember her, like, multiple times. And I'm just like, the heartbreak. The heart, like, you can have, oh, my grandmother was my mother. I feel like that with my own grandmother. You know what I mean? I feel like my grandmother, I'm closer to my grandmother than I am with my mother, which is how she felt. She was closer to her grandmother than she was with her mother. Like, well, the mother wasn't there, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just this thread that will keep going in this family where, you have mothers who are emotionally unavailable. And also, me coming to that realization, because another thing is that I realized when I I had my first child, and then people were like, okay, now you need to start looking for a job, and you need to go, 6 months mutli silitswele, or whatever, breastfeed less, and all these things that people are just like, okay, go out into the world, ditch the child, all of that. And I was like, I don't want to do that. Luckily, COVID happened, and I was with my child. Oh, guys. And then, both of us were with her and we were raising her. I keep getting interrupted. My apologies, guys. I keep losing my train of thought, and now this video is going to be all over the place. Jesus Christ. But yeah, the kids are awake, so I just wanted to say that, like, where was it? What was I saying even? I don't even know. See, it's the problem now. I don't even know what I was saying. I'm so bored. But yeah, like, I remember thinking to myself when it was now time to go, like, ditch the kids, look for a job. And I didn't know this at the time. I had to communicate to my partner that, listen, fam, I want to raise my children. Like, I want to raise my children. So just like I had to make, I remember I had to, cause like I was going on with life knowing that I wanted a lot of children and I wanted to raise my children, right? But not knowing, not really thinking and looking inward, like, how is that going to look and what am I going to have to sacrifice, right? And obviously, you know, women can have it all and you can do anything a man can do, but it's not true when you have children, guys. You have to sacrifice something. Like, if you have children and you want a career, you're gonna have to sacrifice your children's early, like, something's got is going to give, you know what I mean? So I noticed that like I remember having this conversation with their dad, like, listen, fam, we cannot both be outside of the house. Like, for me, that is not something I want to repeat. You know, that is, if I don't want my child to carry a key, we cannot both be working. You know, I'll just express certain things, like, there are certain things I'm going to have to sacrifice in my 20s for these kids, which is another thing where I was like, I can't be having kids in my 30s. All my kids I have to have in my 20s, so that I can be there for my kids, have the energy and have the physical, I guess, capability to have these children and bounce back and, you know what I mean, all of those things, but be there for my kids. Like, we can't imagine, like, their dad comes home, their dad leaves before they wake up. He comes home at what, 7? They sleep 8, 9. You know what I mean? Most of the time he comes back, they've eaten. We just have to give them a bath together. He will bathe them. I will, you know, get out tase, get them dressed, and then he puts them to bed. That's literally I'm not gonna say it's 2 hours that he spends with the kids every day. So who, like, if you're both working, who is raising the kids? You know what I mean? So I was like, I cannot have that. So for both of us to go and make this money just so we can pay other people to raise our kids, no. And I only found out after having the twins why I felt like that. I found out, like, by my mom's history, like, there are no twins in my family, so the twins were also another discovery. Like, oh, guys, all I will say is look inward. Like, look inward. And I had to realize that me wanting this solid family and me wanting to be there for my children, for them to find me home when they come back from school, it doesn't mean I won't have a life, honestly. It just means you can't have an office life. It just means I can't have an office. I can't be tied to an office. I have to do other things that make me flexible. But for me to be tied to an office, I can't, right? So I had to come to the conclusion, Hore, yo guys, you know, and you have to sacrifice certain things financially. Like, okay, we can't do this, we can't do that. It means we're gonna live this type of life for these years, you know, all of that. But that clip, man, and she was like, healing is experiencing the opposite. Guys, I toy around with the idea of deleting social media. This is literally one of the reasons why I can't, because of everyone I follow. And I'm not a reader. Like, I hate the smell of books. So podcasts and audiobooks and all these, clinical psychologists, your Jordan Petersons, your Gabor Mates, your Teal Swans, like all these people are on social media. Okay, so I'm like, I can't delete. Like, yes, I can delete Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, all of that, but like YouTube, TikTok, that is what is keeping me there, honestly. Yeah, guys, I will see you guys because I have to go now. Yes. All my videos are gonna end abruptly. I remember telling you this, guys. It's so hard. It's so hard to record sit downs because.
Mommy, I want to sit on the bed.
No, you can't sit on the bed. There's a full couch that side.
What couch?
There's a couch.
Mommy, couch and it's bouncy.
Now what are you doing? Did you finish your shake? Your hands are so cold. Where are your pens? I have to go, guys. I have to go. I'm gonna interrupting my videos. I'll see you guys next time. All my videos are gonna end like this, unfortunately. If I am ever gonna record, they're gonna end abruptly. I don't even know if I finished my point. I don't even know if I finished. I'll see you guys in my next video. This video is all over the place, but I feel like, hey man, it's much like I shared with. Hey, I'll see you guys in my next video. Literally, all my videos are gonna end like this. Like if there's one promise I could keep, is that one. Sharp guys.